Hi, I'm Major General Tom Mullikin, Commander of the South Carolina State Guard. Thank you for your service in our historic organization. Today we serve an exciting time in this historic organization, one that will be marked by tremendous growth in professionalism, and one that will be marked by tremendous benefit to the great state of South Carolina. Like other organizations, ours, the oldest military organization continuously operated in the United States, has gone through highs and lows, vicissitudes, but we stand on the shoulders of giants. Our first commander, Brigadier General Francis Marion, the father of unconventional warfare, stands at the base of our lineage. Through the more than 300 and almost 50 years, we have served our great state. And over the last decade, we have seen the State Guard grow in our levels of professionalism and capabilities to the state of South Carolina. Today, we go from good to great to elite. And we want you to be a part of this tremendous growth opportunity for our historic organization. Those that have served before us, they've met the burden of their day. And today, the burden is even higher, as we've seen increased storm systems over the last couple of years, the increase of domestic terrorism, the tightening of state and federal budgets. The South Carolina State Guard, as it has done for more than 300 years, has met the great challenges of the day. Thanks to each of you for your heroic service in the historic South Carolina State Guard. Within our Constitution, the Second Amendment, it speaks to the formation of a militia. The preamble to the United States Constitution speaks to the common defense of our country. In these provisions, we find the seeds of what is now our federal military and also our state defense forces. In fact, our National Guard, who wears two hats, a Title 10 warfighting mission hat, where they deploy OCONUS outside the continental United States, and Title 32, where they're charged with domestic operations. Under Title 32, you'll find in Section 101 the provisions that constitute those particulars for the National Guards across the country. In Section 101, you'll see the enabling authority for our state defense forces. From Title 32, Section 109, we then move over to the National Guard Bureau, where we're regulated under rules there, and then we're delegated, like many other federal programs, to a state. Our state, through our own statutes, then begins to establish our mission. In the Army, we call this our METL, our Mission Essential Task List. What are our objectives? What are our left and right boundaries? Here in South Carolina, our primary mission is that of natural disaster preparedness. And here in South Carolina, which we believe is the forerunner for state defense forces around the country, we have 7 professional lanes. Our first lane is led by Colonel William Floyd, our staff judge advocate, who leads a team of 25 judge advocates, our lawyers in South Carolina. This very robust JAG section handles matters for the South Carolina State Guard, the South Carolina National Guard, and communities across our state. Our medical section with 43 medical professionals. Our communications section with over 100 communications professionals. Our provost marshal or military police with over 75 licensed law enforcement officers. Our engineers with over 100 civil engineers, where we provide support during the times of natural disaster. And our organization is set up with 3 historic brigades, beginning with the 3rd Brigade, our Coastal Brigade, where our first commander was Brigadier General Francis Marion, a tremendous hero in our revolutionary fight for freedom. Our 1st Brigade here in the Midlands, commanded by Thomas Sumter, a name we all know and are familiar with, and our 2nd Brigade in the upstate, commanded by Andrew Pickens. Each of these brigades now plays a very important role with our search and rescue capabilities. In the upstate, our mountain search and rescue team, led by some of the premier search and rescue professionals in the country, some of which are still contractors with the Special Operations Command of the Army and the Marine Corps, where they continue doing their training as contractors. Our mountain search and rescue team is then supplemented by our wilderness search and rescue team here in the Midlands where we are today, commanded by Major Glenn Ham, and the 3rd Brigade along the coastal area with swift water search and rescue. Each of these teams, each of these brigades being supported by tremendous professionals. And in addition to those geographic delineation, we add to that our canine search and rescue. We add our underwater search and recovery team. And we also have an equestrian search and rescue. Our assets are used across the state virtually every week with one disaster of another. And we're proud to have the opportunity to serve our fellow citizens and families across our great state. Over the last one calendar year, where we have experienced $2 billion worth of natural disaster, our troops have provided more than 33,000 hours of volunteer service. Hours that would have otherwise had to be supplemented by the National Guard, where we've come in as professionals, as first boots on the ground, from individuals and heroes like yourself from across our great state, who have volunteered, who are there on the ground within 3 hours in the instance of a disaster. Those 33,000 hours would have been offset by direct costs associated with National Guardsmen, services that we provide to our state because of our love for our state and nothing more. Not only are we able to offset those paid resources and to provide professional resources for our state, our counties, and municipalities, but our time is also able to be used as a reimbursement for FEMA. So we're not only saving cost, we're driving revenue into the state because of the nature of our professional services. We stayed in the field much longer after this recent Hurricane Matthew. Our engineers, our chaplains, our medical officers, helping those people in Nichols and in Marion County and the PD, across the PD, bringing those professional resources to these communities to not only help with the immediate emergency, but to begin to help those families rebuild. Today, state defense forces are needed more than ever. Today, we really see the confluence of 4 factors that have called on state defense forces, most especially ours here in our beloved South Carolina. We see an increase in extreme weather systems. We've seen nearly $2 billion worth of damages here in South Carolina with Hurricane Joaquin last year and the associated floods, and this year with Hurricane Matthew. We see an increase of domestic terrorism, where the State Guard has been called upon with our licensed law enforcement officers to provide additional security. And we see greater constraints on our state budget and on our national federal budget, with now nearly $20 trillion in debt. The confluence of these 4 factors have led leaders and families across our state to recognize the tremendous value of our historic South Carolina State Guard. We are seeing greater restraints on federal, state, county, and municipal budgets, and where there has been a need, the South Carolina State Guard has stepped in. We have stepped in from the earliest days in our state, where our volunteers grabbed their shotguns, their pitchforks, whatever they had as weapons, and went out to the fields in Camden and across the state of South Carolina and met the mightiest army in the world. It's with that level of heroism that our families, our citizens, our heroes like yourself have continued to serve selflessly for our state, and we will continue to meet that burden. As we move forward, we'll continue to look upon our citizens and call upon heroes like those of you today who are a part of this historic tradition to meet the challenges of today and tomorrow. Thank you for being a part of this historic and meaningful tradition in the great state of South Carolina.